right, thank you, John. Your tax dollars used to help fund a private vacation in Vegas for a public employee and his wife.
8 News investigative reporter A.J. Legault continues his look now at how the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority is spending your money.
He joins us now live to explain what he's found. A.J.?
Well, and Christina, this past fall, former Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority Police Chief Hal Hazelton was suspended and fired under a cloud of secrecy. The real reasons for his termination have not been made public, but just this week, Hazelton filed this lawsuit against the agency heads at the RRHA for $500,000, claiming he was fired for malicious reasons to muzzle and discredit him. For some time, we've been investigating how the RRHA does business, and what we found is some very suspicious spending on the former chief's public credit card.
It was supposed to be a business trip, a flight from Richmond to San Diego in late September of 2012 for former RRHA Police Chief Hal Hazelton to attend the International Association of Chiefs of Police annual training event being held at the San Diego Convention Center.
Excuse me, Commissioner Holtz?
In light of our recent investigation exposing an RRHA commissioner funding a bus trip to a casino with taxpayer funds,
does the RRHA encourage people to go gambling?
we began examining expenses on RRHA-issued credit cards.
It's our tax dollars that fund what they're doing.
Rick Tatnall with Better Government Richmond is correct, and what we found, our tax dollars funding, is upsetting not just to government watchdogs.
That's our money.
But also to people who call the community's Chief Hazelton was tasked with policing home.
I think it's a bunch of bull.
Examining hundreds of pages of credit card records and travel reports, we found Chief Hazelton was not alone on his trip. Instead of just one $158 flight to San Diego, there are two. Same thing on the return flight. Two tickets costing $189 each. The return tickets are not from San Diego where the conference was. They're from Las Vegas. More on that in a minute. Airline records we obtained show it was not another RRHA police officer traveling with the chief. It was his wife, Ashley Hazelton. The couple checked two bags at $25 each. Once they landed in San Diego, they rented a car. That cost you $488. RRHA travel policy says car rentals should only be for business necessity, and unless involving 3 or more employees, should be economy or midsize. The chief and his wife rented a full-size car. There's nothing to document the business necessity of the 8-day rental, especially considering the conference only lasted 5 days, and the Hilton hotel they stayed in is connected to the convention center. Hotel parking alone cost $108.
There's a lot of money that's being spent incorrectly, inappropriately, or just flat out in the wrong way.
Credit receipts show meals out at restaurants, where the chief was a generous tipper. RRHA policy says gratuity at meals is to be 15%. At these meals, Hazelton tipped 20%. The couple checked out of the Hilton early on October 3rd. The hotel bill, $1,464. The chief did not even stay for the final training workshop at the conference. You paid $495 in membership and registration fees for him to attend. This receipt shows at 1:25 p.m. they were 171 miles away from San Diego, gassing up on the chief's RRHA credit card at this Shell station in Barstow, California. They put $51.89 in the tank. 3 days later, long after the conference was over, the rental car was returned at the Las Vegas airport. On the flight from Vegas to Richmond, 3 bags were checked. That cost taxpayers $85. After they landed, you also paid for parking for the chief's vehicle at the Richmond airport. Not just for the conference days, but also for the time spent in Vegas. That cost you $96. Mrs. Hazelton wrote that day on her Facebook, "Home Sweet Home," and confirms to a friend they were in Vegas.
No trip to Vegas.
Not what the money should be being used for.
No.
Seeing what we uncovered, citizen watchdog Rick Tatnall questions the oversight at RRHA.
The biggest thing is just the oversight of some of these expenditures that are obviously inappropriate.
2 months after the trip, an RRHA accounting technician questioned the chief's credit card charges, writing to her boss, "To date, there's been no monetary reimbursement." The next day, the Hazeltons cut this check for $347.20, the exact cost of just Mrs. Hazelton's plane tickets. Mr. Hazelton refused our request for an interview, but in an email writes, "I will say this, along with any and all other business trips taken while I was employed by RRHA, were completed and reconciled in accordance with the appropriate policies and procedures in effect at the time." But RRHA has no record of being reimbursed for the luggage fees, rental car, gas, parking, or any other expenses occurred during the conference/Vegas vacation you paid $3,310 for.
It makes me mad. It just makes me mad.
It was more than a year after this trip that Chief Hazelton was suspended and fired. I've asked the Housing Authority CEO, Adrian Goolsbee, who was notified of the suspicious spending a year ago and appears to have done nothing at the time, to sit down for an interview. Goolsbee, through his spokesperson, repeatedly refused. Juan?
All right, AJ, who besides you is looking into this? Anybody?
Well, we've confirmed that there is an ongoing administrative investigation underway at the RRHA involving former employees of their police department, but no word on if this apparent misuse of public funds is a part of that. Also, after our report on a housing commissioner's publicly funded trip to a casino, HUD, the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, announced it would be launching their own investigation at RRHA, and that is still underway.
All right. Thank you very much for that, AJ.
All righty. If you'd like to read former Chief Hazelton's lawsuit against the city, we've posted it for you to see at WRIC.com. Just click on the tab marked 8 News Investigates.